red while MeoMaiKa is blue. You know, I feel like when your name is Azure, I'd rather you be any kind of, you know, you don't have to be actually Azure colored, but I think just any shade of blue makes a bit more sense.
Disappointed to not see pink representation in this lobby, but I'll have to swallow it for the time being.
Tell you what, there used to be, so back in yesteryear, so probably you know, your peak StarCraft days, there were a lot of Zergs in our region. I'm sure you can remember a lot of Zergs. There was, you know, your Moonglade, your Teen Guns, your Mafias. Yep. They were basically the top 3 all the time in all the tournaments, and they would always be either pink or purple. So we lived in a world where tournaments allowed pink and purple, and they had creep, and it was ZVZ, and it was an absolute nightmare for people that were commentating and observing. And that's my story. I hope you liked it.
I absolutely loved it. I can only like assume it's not only a nightmare casting and watching it, but also a nightmare to play any kind of a meta where you're trying to make it through and win lots of money when you know, a Zergling run by or a couple of aliens exploding in the wrong direction can be the difference between you and your livelihood.
It isn't. Yeah, it's such a wild time, man. That was the frontier land. People setting up huts and making houses out of wood. We didn't quite have the big bustling metropolis cities that do you now in esports. It was a bit more like, you know, the beaten path, horse carriage kind of age of esports, like in 2010.
Yeah. Love to see the siege gun tank on the horse carriage. You know, it's an absolute classic.
It is.
Pulled by a couple of Zerglings, perhaps. I mean, so far this game not looking too crazy. We're at least getting some expansions, not seeing any kind of insane early pull or anything like that. So, you know, I'm keen to see Azure have a crack at what would be sort of characterized for me as, you know, his normal kind of game. He's not going to get disrupted too much. I would like to see him actually start to get the ball rolling a little bit and see what he's capable of doing here.
Yeah, so far MeoMaiKa playing very, very normally. This is a Reaper into Marine from Azure, so also like a bit of a conservative opener as well, just making sure that any Ling counterattack's going to be deflected by the Marine. The Reaper's going to come across the map for a scout. He's getting a reactor on the factory here for Hellions to join the Reaper. Reaper's a little deep here. He's actually in risk of losing that to the Queen from the natural. Meo trying to grab it. Oh, just escapes.
Yeah,
floating with the devil.
Out of there. You are seeing him go into, you know, the 1-1-1. He's getting the tech lab right next to that starport finishing up. So I'm keen to see if he's going to go for Banshee or something like that, or what he's going to go for.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, a tech lab switching over to a starport. This is like the safest way to open possibly as a Terran, is to go for tech lab and start going into Banshees, because there could be any kind of attack at any point from MeoMaiKa. Like, you're never safe. You think he's droning, he might not be droning. You think he's attacking you, he might be droning. Like, you just don't know. You don't know, so you got to keep tabs on him. Doing things like what Azure is doing right now with this small cluster of Hellions and a Reaper, poking at the Zerg, forcing a reaction out of him, trying to get him to show your units, forcing him to use those units to defend, is going to be how Azure tries to pick up what MeoMaiKa is putting down, which at the moment is a pretty quick Roach Warren and a lot of Lings.
Yeah, a couple of drones, though, under threat from the Hellions. And, you know, it's not crazy losses or anything like that. But MeoMaiKa doesn't actually have the Lings to be able to deflect this Hellion and Reaper coming in towards his natural. So maybe not cleaning this up as quickly as he would have wanted to. And he's going to cop a couple of workers extra loss for that.
Yeah, five drones going down is not bad. You know, it's a good bit of damage. He's lost his map presence, though. You know, the Hellions out in the map aren't there. He's not poking with the Hellions with the Reaper anymore. So he doesn't have early warning of this Ling counterattack. He knows those Lings exist, but he doesn't have, like, a good idea of what's coming up behind the Lings. Like, is there a Roach follow-up? Is there a, you know, just a lot of drones coming up? It's actually a Roach follow-up from MeoMaiKa. Azure is heading towards getting an armory, so be able to make Hellbats from these Hellions, which is, you know, a little bit more effective against Roaches. But Azure is just super focused on going across the map and hurting the Zerg right now, and not getting wind of this attack. He's missed the Roaches completely.
He doesn't have any info, and at least he has been able to supply block MeoMaiKa a little bit with that Viking, which means the reinforcements are a little bit more delayed. But he has to deal with these main Roaches here, Maynard.
Yeah, and these Roaches are a huge problem when all you have are Hellions back at home, which just are not effective against Roaches. MeoMaiKa trying to bust that depot. He tried to repair as good as he can with those SCVs. They're just getting as linebackers here, trying to body block that Roach attack from MeoMaiKa. So he can afford to lose some SCVs here. There's not a drone count for Meo. Now, also, these Hellions in the main base are going to be able to find some drone damage as well. But can Azure hold the Roach attack? He's about to bust through the main base.
Yeah, he is. They actually get morphed into Hellbats, as we saw the armory being formed up earlier, but he hasn't dealt with the main Roach attack. This is not how you want to be losing your first game here as Azure. You want to be showing what you're made of, and unfortunately, I don't think he's done enough to be able to deal with this Roach force, and MeoMaiKa is able to evacuate towards the natural in the third.
Thankfully, Azure does get a wall off there to stop the reinforcements, and the Roaches will eventually die, but with this many SCVs going down, it really does sting. Hellbat's still alive here on this side of the map for Azure, being annoying, with the medevac offering a lot of longevity as well. The high energy Queen being focused means that transfusions aren't really possible here for Meo either. So while Azure does take extreme damage from the attack of MeoMaiKa, if he can stabilize, maybe there's something here, but it does not look good whatsoever. Like, I'm clutching at straws here for Azure.
Nah, definitely not. He's going to be losing that natural. He only just lifts it now. And oh my god, the supply beam wall. That's got to be the end of the game, surely. He's got nothing to defend against the Lings here, Maynard.
Yep, that's going to be it. The Lings in the map, and in the main, rather, and only having Liberators to defend. That's going to be lights out there for Azure. He was already in a rough spot, but that sealed the deal. MeoMaiKa does take game number 1 pretty quickly, but... you know, I like the idea of Azure throwing in something a little bit wild, going for a faster armory, going for a Hellbat drop. That's a cool play, and definitely something that you don't see every day in TVZ. But it's... you losing those 2 Hellions and that Reaper, like I mentioned, that's what I was worried about. When the Hellions and the Reaper died in the natural, I'm like, oh, you're not going to have a whole lot of information what's happening from the Zerg side of the map, and he didn't see the Roach War on the main base. If Azure did see that information, if he did get that critical information there, we could still be casting that game, and it could be a very different result.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's kind of like a series of unfortunate events sort of unfolding, and without that info, he wasn't able to see the Roach and the Ling push coming. I think that's kind of an unfortunate game 1 there for Azure, because I feel like against a player like MeoMaiKa that you're already kind of characterizing as aggressive, that's the kind of game 1 you don't want to be losing to someone like that, because it's going to kind of play with your head for the rest of the series. And Azure is someone that, you know, I'm not sure if he necessarily has the experience in towards the top 8 to know how to navigate through the rest of this series 100% flawlessly. I don't want to see him like sort of overreact to that aggression too early on. I want to see him try to play his game a little bit more, and I'm not sure I'd necessarily characterize his game as being a Hellbat sort of push in the first game. You know, I want to see him actually get towards that mid game where he's able to go into like the big sort of buyer with the upgrades and things like that, rather than just go for try and end the game or make something happen too early on.
I mean, that seemed to be the plan there from Azure. You know, we saw a 3rd command center in the main base as well. So it's one of those things where if you do lose a ton of SCVs, if the Zerg's like got less than 40 drones and you've done more damage with your Hellbats and you still have Hellbats alive and a medevac on the other side of the map, even if you lose 20 SCVs, you could potentially come back with 3 CC. Like, it is possible. But, you know, that Ling flood, that constant pressure from MeoMaiKa was just not a recoverable situation anymore for Azure. We are going to Submarine, though, for the next map, which I do stand by as being a fantastic TVZ map, and I think Azure is going to be pretty happy he got what he did, after all, very deliberately. I think we're going to take a short break here. I'm not 100% sure on that production. We are doing a break. Fantastic. When we return, Game 2 on Submarine here between Azure and MeoMaiKa. Don't go away. G'day, mates. Welcome back to the DreamHack Masters winter event here. Of course, the main event for Oceanic Rest of Asia. And we're actually getting quite close to getting to the Taiwan side of the broadcast as well. Like, we're going to be jumping between the regions here. Taiwan, of course, covers a ton of regions. And usually we call it the Taiwanese event because it ends up more often than not with a lot of Taiwanese players left as the dust settles. But of course, it is Japan, Hong Kong, Macau are also all involved in that side of the tournament as well. It's a lot of Asian players and some Oceanic players all together in one big StarCraft gumbo is the terminology that's coming to mind here, like a big stew of StarCraft goodness.
Yeah, I can't wait to actually get into some of those Taiwanese games. I got the fortune of seeing some of these Taiwanese Protoss players before and their unique and interesting ways of playing. So I'm ready.
Yeah, you're going to see Haas later. He's the flag bearer for weirdness. And, you know, Taiwan, he's not alone in Taiwan as well. There's a lot of weird players in that region.
You say Haas, right? And that's the one that comes to my mind. But to be honest, I got to watch one of Nice's games where he literally killed a Zerg player with double Stargate, only making oracles.
There you go. Oh, that's an old school build. I like to see that. Well played. Nice. Let's get into this game, of course. In the bottom right here, currently on match point, it is the Vietnamese Zerg, MeoMaiKa.
And over on the other side of the map, representing Legacy Esports, I'm sure this man has more in the tank. It is going to be the Red Terran Azure.
And he is, of course, being represented by Legacy ANZ, same team as Probe, a huge brand in Australia for esports. And I'm glad to see their support here for the greatest esport of all time, StarCraft 2, which I'm sure you agree there, Pilly. No other esport comes to mind.
Absolutely none.
Exactly.
To be honest, look, I wouldn't even argue with you. I played StarCraft over a decade before I even touched my main game of commentating. So I think that pretty much speaks for itself. Older brother plopped me down on a little computer and told me how to build the SCVs however many years ago.
That's right. Keep pushing S, never stop building. We did see a pull first here from MeoMaiKa, by the way. I think this is a great way to play this map because, you know, it is, we've mentioned it a couple of times, it's such a short map distance, a rush distance from point A to point B. And I'm glad to see an SCV scout here from Azure as well. He should be able to keep the Reaper at home and not take too much damage. Yeah.
He's put his CC on the low ground, though. So, that is sneaky as hell. He's going to chase that SCV out of there, and he drops the Roach Warren. But actually, the loop back around for the SCV Azure. Surely he's going to see it here, Maynard. Do you see the cancel, though?
I mean,
there we go.
MeoMaiKa is the guy that will cancel the Roach Warren when it's scouted. Yeah, there it is.
I knew it.
What a scumbag, man. MeoMaiKa, like, there are Zergs out there. Like, I play these Zergs on ladder all the time. Obviously, I'm a much lower level than either of these players. But I call it tech shift bingo. It's those Zergs that as soon as something's scouted, going in a different direction, new tech structure. I'm going to keep switching tech on you and I keep doing something to try and counter what you're doing. And they burrow deep into your brain like a tick. And it's so hard to deep them out because they're just so hard to predict.
So here's the thing for Azure. I was kind of worried because he lost that first game to a bit more aggressive play from MeoMaiKa. Not that that's too uncharacteristic for him. I don't think Azure is overreacting by any means. You know, he's still got that CC on the low ground. He hasn't even really thought about dropping that bunker or anything like that just yet. So I think he's pretty comfortable. He's reasonably comfortable, and he has actually confirmed that the Roach Warren isn't coming down with that Reaper. So he goes back for another second look. I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I think it looks quite composed from Azure.
Yeah, Azure had what he was waiting for there, the Reaper swings in the main base, sees that the Roach Warren's been cancelled, and what he wanted to do there is like, okay, if there is Roaches, I want to start making some Marines out of the reactor, getting a bunker up, and maybe getting a tech lab on the factory if it's super committed. But he was like, oh, no Roach Warren, no worries, switch over on the reactor, start making Hellions like a normal Terran would. And we are seeing the Evo chamber go down now for Meo. And this is almost certainly going to be, in true Meo fashion, a very Ling-heavy +1 attack, huge DPS swarm tactic here from the Vietnamese Zerg, which the Zergling is truly his spirit animal.
Yeah, very, very fast and unpredictable, zipping around everywhere. Again, Azure goes out on the map with the first two Hellions and the Reaper, see if he has learned from some of his previous transgressions. And actually, I caught by some Lings, so very, very good Ling control there from Meo, just to be able to pick off some Hellions and make Azure think twice about moving out across the map and trying to gather precious information.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want to do here as a Terran, right? You want to get across the map with your Hellions when you want to see what's going on in Zergville. Azure is actually hiding, I think, their second factory back here with a tech lab. So I think Azure is actually trying to go for Blue Flame Hellions here, which is basically the best thing you could possibly do against MeoMaiKa, as he is Mr. Zerglings himself. I think this is going to be Blue Flame. But yeah.
It's interesting to see Azure go for so many of these, like, you know, I wouldn't even necessarily say like pre-planned builds or anything like that, but like I said, I want to see Azure play like a solid game. Sometimes I feel like, you know, a player who's going for these like very cute builds all the time, you know, Blue Flame Hellions last games it was Hellbats, it kind of gives me like a little bit of a sense that he feels like he's the underdog, but at the same time it could be just, you know, really good research. He knows what his opponent's doing on this map, and he feels confident about how he wants to approach playing against it.
Oh, good catch from Meo, though. Sees the Hellions, catches the Hellions, and nibbles them up. Only loses a couple drones and very few lings. I mean, this is just going to make Azure double down here. He's like, this is MeoMaiKa, and I'm doing the right thing here. He's going to go very, very heavy ling, which means that just going very, very heavy on Hellion production with Blue Flame is going to be the correct composition to deal with Meo. Meo does have a Baneling Nest, though, and he could try and bust Azure. If he sees that there's a bit of a weakness, he's like, oh, maybe I could just bust this and flood it. We're just going to keep an eye here. And oh, yeah, there it is. 11 Banelings be more from Meo and the north side of the map. He's going to bust him open.
Oh, and you do see the drop in the back there from Azure. His Blue Flame is, you know, a little bit longer until it does finish up. And he does have the lib actually finishing up. Actually, the drop going to a blind, but we'll be able to get into the main before Meo does start this bust here.
Now, the main base is taking a ton of damage here. The Hellions are killing a lot of drones, and that's fantastic. But Meo is about to flood that natural. Oh, the Hellions been... he's being essentially Hellions. He's losing a lot of them here to the Banelings. He's got more in the main, though. A lot of Blue Flame Hellions. 3 Banelings still remaining for Meo. I think that Azure should be completely fine here.
That was amazing. You do see the Ling Flood continue, but with the Blue Flame tucking away into all these little crevices, being able to sit on the ramp, then maybe he can potentially hold that. But I don't think that there's really too much damage from the Lings at all. He's just held it perfectly. In the meanwhile, Meo's dropped a whole lot of drones, and Azure, he's in a good position. He's got that extra CC starting to finish up, and MeoMaiKa doesn't like that. He's going to continue to keep the pressure on there down towards the south side.
Oh, man, it felt like Meo was blue screening there for a second. Like, MeoMaiKa actually stopped responding because he was just sending more and more lings, like about to, you know, a couple hundred minerals worth of lings into the natural there, where it was just, they were just going into a absolute, like, a bonfire there of just Hellion and splash damage. He lost so many. MeoMaiKa's army is really not very strong anymore. He's just pure ling with Banelings. And these Banelings, you know, they do have Baneling speed and +1, sure, but he's still up against so many Blue Flame Hellions.
Yeah, this is a good situation for Azure. He not only has he dealt some damage to his opponent, he's kept him quite honest. He's now keeping him worried about all these Liberator drops, rather. And in the meanwhile, another run by with these Hellions does go straight into the Lings, so it's not going to be able to get in towards that third hatchery there. But I'm looking at what Azure's doing in the background. He's got the double energy plays pumping. He's got the third CC finished up, not go on to location just yet. I'm wondering if he can get comfortable to make something happen here, but in comes another bust hit.
MeoMaiKa is going to try and run into the natural, into a funnel here against those Hellions. If he kills the Hellions, MeoMaiKa's got free reign in the main base in the natural again. Hellions pulling back from those Banelings. The depots are on fire. Looks like Azure might lose a couple. Good catch to a few of those Hellions there from MeoMaiKa. 9 SCVs have died, and this is one of those things where you're like, I'm doing the correct thing against this guy. He is just massing Zerglings, and I'm making Blue Flame Hellions. This unit counters the Zergling. Why is MeoMaiKa continuing to find damage here?
Yeah, he's not quite ahead yet, though. You know, he does have that extra base over the Terran. Yes, there is that, but for the moment, at least, you do see Azure. He's ahead in terms of the workers. If he can just stabilize enough to be able to get that third onto location, to be able to deal with some of these follow-up aggressions that the Zerg is throwing at him, maybe he can get back into this game.
This Viking has done a ton of damage, by the way. He's killed 3 Overlords, going for a 4th now. The depots get busted for what feels like the 3rd or 4th time in this game. Azure does lose his depots, but that's a lot of Banelings for MeoMaiKa. And MeoMaiKa has been, I mean, he's living paycheck to paycheck here. He's not rich at all. He's not very high-tech at all. He's got nothing except for Lings and Banelings. And he's starting his 2nd attack upgrade for those Lings and Banelings. This is just wild for MeoMaiKa. It feels like if Azure just stabilizes, gets his upgrades for the bio and a couple of medevacs with the Blue Flame Hellions, I really don't see how MeoMaiKa actually beats this army.
Yes. He's in a very good position, isn't he? You do see Meo, he's going to go for that 4th base, but I haven't seen him him add that many drones, to be honest. He's still continuing to pump out units. Only now is he actually starting to drone up a little bit and look to try to saturate that fourth, but he's already quite a bit behind, and that's where these Ling run-bys need to actually start to do some damage, start to keep Azure honest a little bit more. But you do see the nice SCV micro just hugging in towards a little 3 patch of minerals. You always love to see it. Oh, the run-by though, Maynard.
Yeah, big Ling flood into the natural. That is a ton of Lings here from MeoMaiKa. The majority of them do get deflected from Azure, but some get into the main base. They're going to eventually get rid of this Hellion. Now it's just the SCVs going up against +1 Lings. Banelings running into the third base. MeoMaiKa seems to be everywhere at once, morphing another 14 Banelings in the middle of the map. This guy has got 1 gear, and that is go.
He just wants to kill him, and you can't blame him for the position that he's in. Now you're starting to see MeoMaiKa. He's starting to inflict some real damage. He's starting to actually get to the heart of the problem and deal some damage to those workers that you do see. 25 killed for him. He could definitely do with a couple more on top of that just to feel a little bit safer about his position here as Azure does start to get that third base pumping. He's dropping a couple of the mules. MeoMaiKa can't let him get too comfortable, and he's not going to. You're not seeing any drones in production. The man is sitting on 50 workers who are just pumping Lings, Maynard.
I keep not believing in MeoMaiKa's ability to win this game. Like, he's got just Ling Bane here still. There's been no other tech other than Ling Bane. And there is +2 on the tech on the way. There's Widow Mines. Huge Widow Mine connections on the Banelings, by the way. Azure's Marines take a connection, but because of their upgrades, they're still okay. They're pulling back, and the Banelings are all getting completely obliterated there by the Bio and Hellion army. And that was an abysmal attack from MeoMaiKa. He lost so many resources for 2 seasons.
But it's the intimidation factor. You know, Azure is still sort of sitting back. He's still sitting well within his means. He does have a little bit of an army advantage, and he is even on the workers. So I think he's starting to finally get comfortable, and I think MeoMaiKa is going to have to start to diversify in terms of what he's doing. I do say that, you know, he's still pumping Lings. He is drip feeding a couple of workers in there just to get a little bit more saturation on one of these new bases that he is expanding. My big issue for MeoMaiKa, though, is he really doesn't have any map control outside of the speedlings. He has no creep spread. He has no potential, like, muters or anything like that creeping in towards the tech. So as this gets towards this scary army, if he doesn't keep, like, getting this army count down for Azure, which is really starting to get up to scary numbers, then I don't think he's going to be able to deal with some kind of siege up from the Widow Mines and the Marines.
I really think that Meo's teched himself into a corner here, Billy. Like, he's going for a Roach Warren right now, and I just feel like that's the worst thing you could possibly do against this army. I mean, it's not as bad as just continuing to make Ling Bane, but going into Roaches here, this isn't Mutalisks. This isn't, you know, this isn't Hydra Lurker or something like that punish the Widow Mines. He's going to try and punish the Widow Mines with Roaches, but, you know, 2-2 Bio with medevac support is going to be just fine generally against Roaches, but, man, I mean, Meo does get into the natural again with a lot of Lings. He's going to find more SCV damage for sure, but Azure is on the outside of the map with a drop.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's just keeping MeoMaiKa honest. For the time being, yes, the Lings are still being quite annoying, and they have actually made their way into the main, so a lot of SCVs are going down, but at least on the other side of the map, you know, there's equal drone kills, and as long as Azure just keeps his head on straight, keeps his worker lead, or at least in terms of even, and just stays alive, I think he's going to be in a totally fine position. Basically, he has to throw this game in the bin at some point. He has to make some colossal misplay where he's not able to actually deal with one of these run-bys, and he's not defending them perfectly, Maynard, but he's defending them well and truly good enough. Yeah.
And if your opponent just wants to keep attacking at you as you is doing the right thing, just sit there. Like, yeah, keep throwing your resources at me. You're not getting any damage done. I'll just keep making workers. I will keep making units, and I'm going to keep getting my upgrades. And we are seeing a situation where the Terran's up an upgrade here. It's 2-2 Bio with medevac support, with Hellbats, with mines, going up against a guy who has, you know, a ton of Ling Bane, and that's basically it. And even that, it's not a ton anymore. Meo has lost a casual 333 Lings in this game. Quite standard for MeoMaiKa, but unfortunately, I think that he's, again, like, teched himself into a corner. Azure has gotten too big now.
He's going to try and wrap around the backside or go for a counterattack. I'm not sure which. It does seem like he's wrapping in behind, and he's going to get the Lings straight on top of the Bioforces, and the Banelings roll in, but it's the instant lift up in towards the medevacs, and he's just going to fly the hell out of there.
Yep, and it's the right call. You know, he's picked up a hatchery, he pulls back. He's got a ton of Widow Mines at home still. MeoMaiKa either has forgotten or doesn't care. He's just like, I still want to attack. I know that there's a Widow Mine field of at least 15 Widow Mines, but I still want to attack. I'm MeoMaiKa, and I want to attack. That is a flag that he wears. It's on camera, I think, actually.
Even if he does, like, start to tech up and does start to try to take some more bases, by the time I feel like Azure gets up towards that max army supply and moves out, I think he's probably just dead anyway, caught in the middle route. So he's got to make something happen, surely.
I really like what Azure's doing here. Very, very heavy on Widow Mines, so just throwing them across the map into drone lines when you've got, you've got your armory up, so the Widow Mines are cloaked. You need detection to get rid of those Widow Mines. I actually kind of would have liked for Azure to maybe get drilling claws, but it does look like he's switching over to tanks as he has seen those roaches. These Widow Mines are going to burrow, but that one gets some lings, but not too much damage. You know, the mines aren't free, but Azure is so far ahead that he can afford to do things like this.
Yeah, and this is the kind of game that I wanted to see for Azure. You know, this is what Azure is actually made of. Once he starts to get the ball rolling, once he starts to play this sort of Terran style, you know, no nonsense, kind of get all the upgrades pumping, you know, get yourself into an entrenched position. That's where he really does a lot of good work. So I'm happy that he's actually been able to get himself into a good enough position. And he looks like he's put himself in pole position to at least take a map here and show us what he's made of a little bit.
Yeah, MeoMaiKa, I mean, we're in a 15-minute game here, Pilly, and MeoMaiKa's got 47 drones. This is, there's only one Zerg in the whole world that's like this, and we're watching him right now. The bio army of Azure is so powerful. The Banelings and the Lings and Banes could beat this army if it connects, but that's a big if. There's a lot of Widow Mines still here from Azure, and he's doing the right thing. He's not getting over eager. He's not, the blood's still not rushing between his loins. He's keeping it in between his ears, and he's thinking about what needs to be done, and he's making the right choices.
Yeah, and he is just in the meanwhile utilizing those Widow Mines, utilizing the Liberators to give himself even more of an advantage in terms of the workers, almost double in terms of workers. Now he just needs to defend this main attack, and he's got himself nicely pre-split on towards the backside of the ramp. You see the Ravagers just looking to try to pick off tanks, pick off Widow Mines, try to make that entrenched position a little bit more defeatable. MeoMaiKa isn't even thinking about his bases. He's only just selecting the last line that's go in here, Maynard.
Yeah, he's coming in for the big ol' attack here. Azure's got a big fan out, a tank, Widow Mine, bio, and MeoMaiKa tried his best. But the best, I don't think, is quite good enough. The Ling's coming on in there. They'd eat the Widow Mine. The bio is still alive. MeoMaiKa left with absolutely nothing there. Just 20 army supply he's got to tap out. Azure ties it up by defending. And but MeoMaiKa made that game, that was a clincher. That was a clincher. If I was sitting on a lump of coal, it would be a diamond by now.
I was real happy to see that out of Azure, though. You know, not only did he put himself in a position, but just navigating his way through that game exactly how I wanted to. I think we really saw the best out of Azure in that last game. You know, he put himself ahead. You know, he got himself out on the map, actually got a little bit of info, got a couple of drone kills here or there, and then got into the game that he wanted to get into. He wasn't playing MeoMaiKa's game, and I'm always worried about that whenever you see, you know, in these best of threes in StarCraft, you see someone lose to a bit more of an aggressive build. So all of a sudden you're sort of playing the other player's game a little bit more. You know, you're playing a little bit scared. Didn't see that from Azure. Didn't see any overreaction when he saw, you know, the Roach Warren being put down or anything like that. And that was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, early game, he dotted his I's, crosses his T's, and even dotted his lowercase J's. He saw the Roach Warren, he saw the cancelled Roach Warren. He did not overreact. He took it very calm, collected. He went Blue Flame Hellion, and I mean, MeoMaiKa really made Lings work against Blue Flame Hellion. It's not supposed to work against Blue Flame Hellion, but MeoMaiKa is just like, oh, you're making the thing that counters my thing? Well, I'm just going to make more of my thing and make it not matter. I think that was MeoMaiKa's plan here in this game. But as we can see, it gets the phase where your Terran opponent's got not only Blue Flame, but also Widow Mines and Armory completed and double upgrades on bio with medevac support. Ling Bane starts to look a lot less good, especially without Mutas to assist, without, Hydras to assist, even Lurkers to assist. Anything that Zerg tends to do from tier 2 to tier 3 onwards, we just did not see it here from MeoMaiKa. It was tier 1 or bust.
Yeah, and I think I mean, just going back to Azure again, because I was just really impressed with how he played that game. I think that's how I'd sort of characterize him as a player now that I've seen him in ANZ Champs and I've seen him, throughout that game. Even if he is sort of struggling, where it looks like he should be sort of exceeding a little bit, he just is solid enough. He is good enough. His fundamentals are good enough to be able to get him through a lot of tough situations, even if he's not defending perfectly or anything like that. He's playing good enough, and that's why he's made it through the top 8 here. And I hope it's going to be good enough to actually put him a little bit further and maybe get him an upset in this series, because he has put himself in position to do so.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you look ahead in the group. You're like not just looking at the series, you're looking at the group and as a whole product, and you're like, damn, my TVT needs to be pretty sharp. We got some scary Terrans in this group. You got your boy Seether, who's a top 2 player from multiple seasons in a row, and you've got of course Razorblader as well, our other Pakistani player coming in from the rest of Asia region, along with Teeble in the top 8. So some pretty strong Terrans. First of all, of course, he does need to deal with this pretty crazy Zerg in the bottom right here from Legacy ANZ. It is Azure.
Any other player who is already in the top 3, he's going to need to have the best CVT of his life to make it out of this group. It's MeoMaiKa.
Alrighty. Well, there's a pull first again from MeoMaiKa. This doesn't necessarily mean he's going for an all-in or anything like that. It just seems to be the way that he likes to play. He really wants to be in the head and in the face of his opponent as early as possible.
I think you can't really blame him, to be honest. Surprised to not see the gas or anything. I guess he's just going to go pull and the hatch and build a couple of things and put a little bit of pressure on, just get out of the map, get a little bit more active. I can't blame, MeoMaiKa or even like someone else that I see this do quite a lot is Ender, because the guys are just so good with their lings, and I feel like they win so many games off just sneaking a couple of lings in and being, very, very active that, they sort of deserve that pull first and just going for that and utilizing to its full potential all the time as well. I see players like Ender, players like MeoMaiKa catching Hellions, catching Reapers out on the map and just denying that map control, and you saw that be pretty important in the first map of this series. Indeed.
I think Azure might be hiding a structure in the main base of Meo here. I'm not sure you want to do this in game 3 against a very frightening Zerg. This is a very suspicious SCV. It might be one of those ones where he's hiding it just to try and swing through the main and have a good look. Just to make sure tech's not being cancelled or anything like that. The SCV is still being so weird here in the main base of the Zerg.
I think it's surely just for a scout. There's no way you proxy a main.
No. Factory comes up back at home.
Yeah, he's just going for a bit of a scout. Like Azure's been cute these last 2 games, but I don't think he's been that cute. It's not cute to the level of gimmicky. I don't think he's fooling anybody though. That Ling just checking the corner of the base must have seen that SCV a little bit earlier on with one of the overlords and wondered where it went, and they do hunt it down and finish it off nicely there.
Yep, SCV finally does go down, and Azure is being very conservative with that Reaper, keeping it on his side of the map. Normally the Reaper would be on the other side of the map in most TVZs, poking at the Zerg, just trying to, get a Ling kill here and there, maybe force back a creep trimmer or something like that. But this is MeoMaiKa. We're unlikely to see too many creep trimmers in this game. So keeping the Reaper at home to make sure that Lings don't, grab your low ground command center like that is usually priority 1. The low ground command center does finish up though, and Azure has his reactor done as well. So he's pretty safe against a small cluster of Lings.
He's going to try and swing in with the Reaper, just sort of count the drones, make sure nothing crazy is going on too much. Haven't seen Meo go absolutely nuts in terms of making, an insane amount of workers, going up to like those 80+ workers. He does spout the layer timing with the Reaper, which is important. He's going to move up in towards his 1-1-1 as before, and keen to see what he's going to be doing with the tech lab. Does look like he's going to be swapping that starpod on there once again.
Yeah, this is pretty conservative and pretty safe here for Azure, just to go Reactor Hellion and then potentially Banshees here. It is straight into Banshee for Azure, so he's really feeling, not only can the Banshee go across the map, and especially in tandem with another Banshee to start one-shotting drones and getting you some good harassment, it keeps you quite safe against roach attacks as well. It's a very to have someone that does just like to rally units at any particular phase of the game. Like at any minute, at any phase of the game, there could be a roach attack from MeoMaiKa. So things like Banshees are important in that regard.
Well, you did say roaches, and there is a roach warren on the way, maybe to put a little pressure on, maybe to just deal with this cluster of Hellions that is active out on the map. You see in the wall there will be the 3rd CC, similar sort of timing as some of the other games that we've seen from Azure. So he seems very comfortable in this playstyle. The Banshee is going to start to move out a little bit. Doesn't see any drones on this 3rd just yet, or any drones transferring over. So Azure is seeing units being pumped out of those hatches, but it is just the 5 roaches that you do often see to be able to push away this cluster of Hellions as MeoMaiKa goes straight back to droning. Yeah, he's droning quite a bit here at the moment, so just really focused on doing what most regular Zergs would do at this point. But after going Roach Warren and Roach Speed, he does drop the Hydra Den, is a little bit more different. As the Hellions spoke up, they see a couple roaches. Of course, Azure doesn't know how many roaches there are, so he's trying to make sure he doesn't throw those Hellions away. And those Banshees again. Like, the Banshees are out, which is fantastic for Azure defensively against roaches. And I think they're about to go across the map and have a look and see how much drone damage they can get done now that there's 2 of them. This is something that you see a lot of the... specifically when I see 2 Banshees with Cloak just darting around in drone lines, I think about innovation. He's one of the few Terrans that still flew the Banshee flag when Terrans seem to not want to use them anymore. Someone's got to do it, and as you did predict, he's finishing off a lot of those roaches out in towards the middle of the map, so feeling pretty comfortable here. MeoMaiKa is just sacrificing them to I don't know, the Banshee God, I suppose, as he's starting to move into the Hydras pretty heavily. And I've been waiting to see this, you know. We've waited the whole 3 maps to see the famous Hydras come out.
The famous MeoMaiKa Hydralisks. Amazingly, he's getting Groove Spines first and not Muscular Augments, which is something we actually I've seen more often from MeoMaiKa than any other Zerg, is going into Hydras and then just getting the Hydra speed upgrade and then just going for a lot of pressure with Hydralisks. Feels like it's so tough to do against Terrans, though, especially when they're making tanks, which Azure is doing.
And similar to these other games, I'm not seeing any kind of insane creep spread or anything like that from MeoMaiKa. The man is mostly using the Overlords to be able to drop creep to connect up his bases, but he's not trying to spread creep out on the map. That's something I've seen from a couple of other games from MeoMaiKa as well. Not a man who cares as much of spreading his creep across the map, which is interesting because, you know, you often do see some of the more aggressive counter-attacky Zergs utilize that creep spread pretty nicely.
Well, not wrong. The Hydras here without Muscular Augments finding a little bit awkward off creep to force back that Banshee. The Banshee's just doing a bit of damage there on that 4th hatchery. Could come into play a little bit later. It's a little bit low in hit points, and Azure is finding some good drone damage here with these Banshees.
Yeah, quite hard to catch up when you don't have the creep coverage, and he is trying to get that Hydra speed now after the Groove Spines, but would have been nice if they're a little speedier a little early on to maybe deal with these Banshees, but MeoMaiKa doesn't care. The man is moving straight up to 75 drones, and he's moving into some of those upgrades as well as adding a Bane Nest.
So this is straight Ling Bane Hydra here from MeoMaiKa with a pretty beastly economy, honestly. He's going up into 80+ drones in a second, but a lot of what a Zerg would want to do at this point is getting up towards Hive, and we haven't seen an infestation pit just yet from MeoMaiKa, so we might be leaning a little bit harder on tier 2. We'll keep an eye on that. Azure is playing very normally, a very well-timed armory as well, so should be able to get into +2 attack and +2 armor immediately when 1-1 is done. Just playing straight up good old Marine tank here, which is the, you know, the quote-unquote correct unit comp against Ling Bane Hydra. So this is a cool little game we got for ourselves. It's a very stable, not super action-packed game too.
Yeah, would love to see Azure make waves and actually win himself a game in this group, particularly in the Zerg matchup. Like he said, he's got a lot of Terran coming his way after that, so would be good to give himself an extra shot in those TVTs rather than, there's no guarantee actually, even if he does win this game, that Meo doesn't make it through the low bracket and play him, right? So,
yeah, of course. Yeah, we do have Combat Shield finally finishing there for Azure. His Tech Live upgrades are a little bit behind there. Banshee's still alive, still a threat on this map. Meo did drop the Infestation Pit. Oh, Banshee's getting caught. Nice catch there with Meo. Well done. Good catch there. And he's dropping a Spire. So, yeah,
I was kind of wondering if he was going to utilize that Spire to be able to just make a handful of Mutas or Corruptors, deal with the drops, deal with the Banshees. Not so much worried about the Banshees anymore, though, but drops still very much a real threat. However, not going to do too much to this hatchery down here. If anything, it's just to pull a little bit of attention away while Azure wraps in towards the left side with his main force.
I think he might be able to get a cancel on that one, which would be not too bad. As you know, MeoMaiKa's got 86 drones, and 4 bases is not enough to have a good saturation with 86 drones. Oh, ball to the left side is going to get some licensed drones, and another cancel here that's going to knock Meo back to 4 bases for sure. Meo, what? Ooh. He did not cancel that hatchery.
Yeah, he's got 300 down the drain.
Yeah, there's 300 down the drain for sure. He had time to cancel that, so I'm not sure where he was looking.
He's moving into the Hive now. Needs to buy a little bit more time. But like you said, he's sort of just constrained on these 4 bases with the 84 workers, which is not ideal as his main's almost certainly starting to mine out. And Azure feeling confident to move up towards that 3rd base there. Does put a little bit of pressure on, but he's just going to load up and peace out.
Yep. See you later. We do have the Hive, of course, on the way here for Meo. And at the moment, I would have expected lurkers here from Meo. But he's really not made that many Hydralists. It's just 11, and that's not very high for MeoMaiKa. Normally, he's a bit of a Hydra king. He makes so many more. It feels like Meo's not really caring about making more army here. He feels like he's got enough to defend, and he might be right, but he's fighting off creep again. Like, MeoMaiKa really doesn't like spreading creep, so the Terran generally is going to do all right against the Banes. See, the Bane's not really connecting with anything there. Azure's army's getting really big, by the way. He's nearly up 40 army supply. In fact, he's up 30 exactly right now. And as MeoMaiKa techs towards tier 3, he's going for Ultras, Corruptors, 2 upgrades. Ooh. Azure's going to have a 2 upgrade lead and a very nice attack timing here as he's very close to maxed.
Yeah, this is not ideal. Actually, it's going to be an awkward timing for Azure, as you do see Mio actually wrap in towards this left side command center. Starts to actually focus it down. The Bane's connecting on so many SCVs, and he's going to be able to get the CC as well. And that actually forces Azure to start to turn tail and go back towards defending his base, but he loses the CC anyway. Sure, all of the Hydras will go down, but it's not that much of MeoMaiKa's army supply actually committed there, and he does offset the timing push. Now he's going to see a lot of Lings in the production tab, a lot already out on the map, and he's morphing 40 Banelings.
Yeah. You're not wrong. Like, the thing is there, it delayed the push, and this mean to MeoMaiKa's like, oh, there was a big army going across the map. No worries. Let's make another 30 Banelings here. We're going to have 2-2 upgrades finishing in a second, which means we're going to equal upgrades and more chance to fight. Oh, Azure's going to fight inside the acceleration zone here. This choke point, does MeoMaiKa really want to attack in here? I don't think so.
I thought he might have caught a decent timing, being able to actually get in towards that choke point before the tanks were sieged up. He did see the hatch cancelled once again, and MeoMaiKa trying to divide up his forces, but for the time being, there hasn't been any big crescendo from Azure. He's constantly just being sort of delayed and pushed back for the time being, and now you see the bit of the drop in towards the main, which will force a little bit of a response from MeoMaiKa, but in the meanwhile he's engaging over towards his right side.
The tanks do get exposed a little bit there, and the Lings and Banes do bust them down, but that's a lot of MeoMaiKa's army going down. And also keep in mind that while MeoMaiKa is down half army supply of the Terran, he's splitting it up in half. He's trying to defend the main, he's trying to defend the right side, which means that something's got to give. And it looks like the right side is what gives here, is as Azure breaks through that location, finally getting that fourth base there. Azure has also been replenishing a lot of his SCVs, but MeoMaiKa did manage to buy enough time to get up into Ultralisks. He's got 5 of them on the way here. And Azure is very Marine heavy. He's 30 Marines at the moment with 8 Marauders and a couple Liberators. Really does have a good anti-Ultralisk army at the moment.
It's kind of insane how that worked out. You know, so many different opportunities he felt like Azure was going to be able to get across the map and actually make something happen. No creep spread whatsoever, but every single time Azure wanted to move across, there was always something slowing him down. There was always an awkward engagement where he wasn't 100% ready, and MeoMaiKa's taken advantage of so many of those situations. You can see him still so active, still moving around with some of those Zerglings, and like you said, now it's time for the Ultras to come into the equation. That's kind of what MeoMaiKa's been buying time for. You didn't see him hard commit in towards the Hydras earlier on, so now he's in the game state that he wanted to be in.
Liberators from Azure finding some damage here, but MeoMaiKa finding so much more with these Banelings. I mean, crashing them into the planetary there was a little bit wasteful, but that's a small criticism. He did get a lot of SCVs there, and MeoMaiKa still with a pretty nice economy compared to the Terran. So I guess Azure's going to try and get a cancel on this hatchery. With these Ultras here, I think that Meo should be able to clean this up, but again, like a hatchery kill, no cancel. MeoMaiKa does still have money in the bank, so it's not the biggest of deals, but it's like, you know, it's amazing that he's not canceling any of these structures.
I think he's in a pretty good position, to be honest. You know, 80 drones to 50 workers is going to get on top of this entire army. The Bane's only now just starting to crash in, but the bio is split so well, and you do see all of the Banes committed once again in towards the planetary to force down that fourth, which actually Azure has had to rebuild, has had to relocate multiple times now, relocates the main over towards that fourth as it is mined out, but actually Azure doesn't have access to that many funds at this point, and I don't know if he's going to have what it takes to be able to replenish this army, whereas Meo, more and more Banelings being morphed in there. He's trying to retake that left side base. He has got the right side base as well. I think he might just win a war of attrition here if Azure doesn't find him access to more funds and make sure he can secure this fourth a little bit further into the long term.
You might be right. I mean, there was a moment in this game, at least for a minute or two, where Azure was winning this game super hard, but MeoMaiKa, through just determination, stubbornness, tenacity, whatever you want to call it, he's been able to get himself into a pretty lovely spot here. He's been trading inefficiently, sure, but he has had the better economy, as you mentioned, and the war of attrition is definitely something that's lost and /won games for players in this RTS before.
Definitely. I thought he was going to commit in with all of those Banelings even after the Widowmine spotted it out, because that would just be an alpha MeoMaiKa move of just seeing those like 20 Banelings roll straight into the planetary again, even after it's been scouted. But he does have a little bit of common sense holding him back, at least in that situation, and he will try to engage over here on this right side.
Azure needs to bring everything to front lines here at the third bases. That is a lot of MeoMaiKa's army, but Meo has got a ton of Banelings on the left side looking to try and break this base again. That's so many Banes straight into the mineral line, kills 22 SCVs. And if Azure didn't lift the command center, that actually would have died as well. So a big play again from MeoMaiKa once again. very expensive for him to throw that many banelings away, but he's just so rich compared to Azure.
Yeah. I don't think it matters. I think he's won this game entirely off the back of just punch after punch on Azure's economy, and even all those meals giving him a slight cash injection. I think the only option for Azure here is to actually get out on the map and make sure another punch comes in. He's so worried about defending at what MeoMaiKa is doing to him that he's not able to make anything happen out on the map, and he won't be able to sustain these losses going forward. Another push in here from the Zerg.
Azure is in a very lovely position, but does he actually have the numbers? The banelings are starting to stream on in, getting into the Marines. The Marauder count's still quite high. I mean, that attack from MeoMaiKa went about as badly as he possibly could have hoped for. Like, that is actually an attack that gets Azure kind of back in this game. Azure's got the bigger army again.
Yeah, but I'm kind of wondering to myself, like, it's about what happens next, right? You know, he's taking these inefficient trades, but he's never being punished for it. There's never any answer from Azure. The man is simply just trying to hold on, trying to defend, trying to play his game over here on this right side of the map. But the bottom right at the moment is all that he knows. And every time that he tries to get into the middle of the map, he's being disrupted. Anytime that he tries to actually make something happen over on MeoMaiKa's side of the map, yes, he's been able to cancel a few hatcheries, but it hasn't been enough to sort of stop MeoMaiKa from continuing to play his game, from continuing to secure his economy. And I'm not sure if Azure is going to have enough funds unless he takes another base here soon. Yes, he's got this bottom left base, but that's the only source of income as this right side base starts to mine out as well.
Well, MeoMaiKa just F2'd everything to the left side there. He was about to attack the third base location, but brought his whole army together in one clump. Looks like he's going to try and attack the planetary down here on the south side. Actually, not the planetary, it is just an orbital. That's the main base lifted off. But this is the most entrenched location for Azure. And MeoMaiKa, you know, he's not super rich. He's got a lot more workers, but he doesn't have a ton of bank like a Zerg normally would at this phase of the game. So if MeoMaiKa takes a really bad fight, and I mean like a really bad fight, like the last one, Azure can have enough army supply to punish finally. And I like that he's breaking off 10 army supply here on the left side. They're just trying to hit that drone line. Unfortunately, an ultra just pops, so it's like, oh damn, that thing beats all 8 of my Marines, so let's get out of there.
This is being picked up here by MeoMaiKa. A couple more banelings crashing into the worker line, but at the moment, you know, I'm looking at Azure's army count and I'm thinking he's finally putting something together that could actually pack a little bit of a punch. The question is it going to be enough to actually put him into an advantageous position? Because, like I said, it's all been MeoMaiKa's game that he's been playing here so far, you know, and although MeoMaiKa's giving him plenty of opportunities to actually start to trade a little bit more efficiently, he's got to make something happen now. A couple of ghosts coming in to be able to answer the ultras a little bit more. So as Azure starts to move closer towards that max supply, you know, I don't see him pumping any more SCVs. I think it very much is just so far him trying to get as close to as strong of an army as he can get, and just sort of trying to live off of, you know, one base to one base, paycheck to paycheck, dropping the mules and trying to make stuff happen.
Normally, I would love to see Terran be a little bit more active on the map and harass, but MeoMaiKa is so hell-bent on aggression that I actually like what Azure is doing in this game. He's slowing it way down. He's like, I'm just going to chill here. You know, I know MeoMaiKa has a way that he likes to play, and if I just relax, I should, hopefully, force MeoMaiKa into an unfavorable attack where he just feels compelled that he needs to attack. And there's a demon inside of MeoMaiKa's head telling him to attack all the time. And if he just chills and MeoMaiKa takes a bad trade or gets a little bit YOLO like he did earlier, Azure could potentially have enough army left over to completely punish. The Ghosts pick off one of the ultras here. Another stacked snipe there on another ultra getting very, very low. And, you know, army supplies are relatively close. MeoMaiKa very baneling heavy. There's no Widow Mines here from Azure, which gets me a little bit worried when these banelings are this high in number. And yeah, MeoMaiKa chipping away at Azure, finally winning the game there.
He seems pretty happy about it. He's given someone a high five. I would love to know who. Unfortunately, I don't think